Hey, let me take 1 second here to let you guys know that my products, the Titan Crew, are available over at Walmart. You got the pump product, get that focus on the workout, the test booster, bump it naturally, and then the joint support. You gotta keep the joints healthy, that way you can train for a lifetime. I want to take that 1 minute. Let's get back into the podcast. Thanks again.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Sal Di Stefano, and I'm the host of the Mind Pump podcast. Michael Hearn graciously had me on his podcast to talk about everything fitness, why people stop working out, why their diets fail, the attitudes towards fitness, what the winning attitude is versus the losing attitude. This was a great discussion. It was very enthralling. Again, Mike's one of the smartest people I know in the space. It was a great episode. I hope you enjoy it.
He is one of the hosts of his own podcast, Mind Pump, which I've been a fan of for quite a while. Now, what I love about him mostly is, besides having a whole bunch of fun with him and his guys and bringing you guys great information, there's a lot of experience from trial and error, and he brings it fully around in very layman terms and helps you guys, the listeners, to really do this process of health and fitness and living a lifestyle of this and being a father and being busy but still getting in those workouts. So there's so much knowledge this guy has that I can appreciate, and I was connected and I saw some stuff he did on his podcast that really resonated with me. And I was like, I like him, I like his crew, I like what they're doing, and I like how they're pushing it out there. And so I wanted to get him over here onto my podcast and really get into depth on this philosophy he has of life. And trust me, he did not disappoint. Me and the whole team talked about him afterwards, just like he has it. He has it. Let's get into this.
Man, I've followed you forever, a long time. So it's cool to meet you.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We've talked a bit.
A little bit.
Who is Sal? What is going on here?
Okay.
Sal, what are you doing?
So I host the Mind Pump podcast. We're the top podcast in the fitness space.
The guys, Ernest and Jesse. Jesse's coming to do your podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're gonna do his Mind Pump.
Yeah. So,
next week.
But yeah, we've been doing it now for about 7 years, and I've been a fan of Mike's for a long time, from way back in the '90s. You know, I see some of your stuff. Yeah, and so this is pretty cool. Pretty cool to meet you.
I love it.
But yeah, our background is personal trainers, gym owners. So one of my co-hosts was a physique competitor, but all of us were just in the gym space, working with general pop.
And you guys are killing it too with the podcast itself.
We have a good time, man. We have a good time. Yeah. We everything we learn through training everyday regular people. That's what we talk about on the show.
How old are you now?
43.
43.
Yeah. So
we're trying to find out the age and stuff because your insight when you guys are bantering on the show is you've been in the trenches a while.
Yeah.
Because there's good banter and you guys understand it.
Yeah. No, I've been since I was 18. This is what I've done. Yeah, and then I've managed gyms since I was 19, trained trainers, and so I've done this for a long time. And when you train everyday people, you end up figuring out how to communicate the same thing over and over again, but to make it effective. You know what I mean? Which is different than when I'm communicating to like a fitness enthusiast like me, talking to the average person. So that seems to resonate. So I guess it worked out pretty well for us.
Who's easier to work with? An average Joe that wants to get in shape or a pro athlete?
Very different. You work with a high-level athlete, you got to pull them back. You got to put a leash on them. You constantly pull them back, right? Everyday average person, you got to get in their head and figure out how to get them to create a relationship with exercise and nutrition to where they can keep doing it forever. And it's totally different. The high-level athlete or the fitness enthusiast, well, either one, they love it, they'll never stop, or two, they're so highly competitive that when they do stop their sport, then they fall off, which is totally different. But average person, it's like, if I do a good job, really good job, after a couple of years of training them, I can get them to work out maybe 2 or 3 days a week, for the rest of their life, which is a big deal.
Don't you think though that the average think they need to train like a pro athlete?
I think what they think is that they have to train like maniacs to get any kind of, good sustainable results. So they have lots of misunderstandings about exercise. And there's a lot of misunderstanding, not as much today, but when I first started for sure, but still a lot today around strength training.
There's much misinformation now than it was when you started?
There's more information, which means there's also more good information, but there's also more that's out there.
Right.
But look, when I was, managing gyms in 97, 98, like you didn't see, I'm talking about everyday, regular gyms, the big boxes. You didn't see women lifting weights. Barely ever. You didn't see anybody squatting or deadlifting. I remember when I would deadlift as a gym manager, at 19, 20, members would come up to me and be like, "You're going to hurt yourself. What are you doing?" There'd be one squat rack in a 40,000 square foot gym.
Yeah, that's true.
So definitely things have changed. In the positive, there's a lot of other stuff. Social media has made things more complicated, I think, too. But you're getting more, like now I go to every day, I go work out at a big box gym, and the free weight area, you got women doing, traditional strength training. I never saw that before.
See, I guess that's good insight because I am so a lifetime removed from those kind of gyms.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was instantly in the gym that everybody squatted,
Yes.
everybody deadlifted.
Yes.
And that was 9, 10, 11. So it was like, I didn't even fathom not doing that.
Yep.
So that's great insight.
I'm telling you, I would grand open these gyms, huge 40,000 square foot gyms, one squat rack in the whole gym, and it would have dust on it because nobody touched it. This was back in the the late 90s.
Right.
And our goal with the podcast was, we didn't want to focus on so much on the people who, were working out consistently, loved it, whatever. Like, there's a different conversation to be had there, and it's usually around maybe don't overdo it. There's sometimes dysfunctional relationships with exercise and nutrition, but that's different.
Right.
We were trying to focus on the average. How do we get the average person, it's like 90-something% to like do this and to do it in a way where it's sustainable and where they gain benefit? Like, those are the people we're trying to focus on, and that's hard. That's always a hard thing to do.
It's a hard first step too,
Yeah.
because you're saying, hey, let me get the demographic that doesn't listen to health and fitness podcasts.
Yeah.
It's like, so what made you guys, did you all three start at the same time?
So I started a little bit before they did, and we all didn't work together. So we all met and started the podcast. So I worked with the producer, Doug. He was actually a client of mine. That's how I met him. Adam and Justin worked together in gyms, and I had known of Adam because he was a top performer like I was. So we'd hear of each other, but never really met. And it was all the same space. And what we learned as training, as trainers for everyday people was like, how do I keep them coming back, and what really works? And okay, meal plans, they don't work with the average person, and the mechanistic aspects of diet, that doesn't work with the average person. Telling them, okay, this is, you got to eat this way, it doesn't work. So it's all about behavior. It's all about creating this different relationship.
So
it's like you've become a therapist.
Yeah, you're a therapist, not a trainer in a sense, because you got to talk to them about this food is okay.
Yeah, and we had, and we also figured out, like, they got to enjoy coming. So if you listen to our show, you know that there's a large segment where we have a good time. It's fun to listen to. We're not even talking about fitness. That's what we learned as trainers. Like, the clients would come in, and if I'm going to train this person twice a week for the next 3-4 years, it can't be about fitness every time. They got to come in and we got to have a good time. And then, hey, side effect is you're working out.
Then you're still getting the workout.
Exactly.
That's good insight that you guys did that, because all the health and fitness podcasts is, the majority is, I guess you would say, are talking about, hey, my way of thinking is the best way, and this is how you should do it. And it's like, you guys are going, well, technically.
Yeah.
And then I got a question for this it's more of an approach. Will they eat 3 or 4
Correct.
times a day? Will they come and train?
Correct.
And so it's the mind approach. So then my question is, and this might be, by knowing everything about health and fitness, will that get you in shape better than the person that goes into the gym and likes to work out?
No.
And knows a basic amount?
Yeah, no, it's the biggest challenge to overcome with the average person is consistency. I mean, a subpar workout.
Don't you think that's just beginners? I know we're talking about beginners,
Yeah.
but don't you think we can mix in the advanced on that aspect?
Somewhat. I think with advanced, this, with advanced people, if I'm working with like an ex-figure competitor or physique competitor, or just somebody who's just got that fanaticism around it, it's a different conversation. It's more how do you create balance? How does this not make the rest of your life dysfunctional? because a lot of people like us, and this is when I'm talking to people like myself, they'll lose relationships in their life because they got to work out, or they'll miss birthdays because I got to eat my meals. And that also can be a problem, So it's a different conversation. Now, the average person, totally different. Like that person, the average person is like, all right, how can I make this so that you actually want to do this? And how can we talk about the behaviors that lead to eating right, because if you enjoy exercise, you enjoy eating right, well, you're going to do it. If you don't, I don't give a shit how much you hate yourself and how motivated you think you are. It's going to end. You're going to stop.
That's great insight, though.
And nobody communicates it that way, which is interesting to me. There was a study that was really illuminating to me. I don't remember how long ago I read it. It was a long time ago, that compared people following diets to people working with a therapist. So obese individuals.
Okay.
Here's your diet, or here, work with this therapist. And guess which one had better success for long-term weight loss? Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. I mean, trip off that, right? But nobody talks about fitness and health from that perspective. It's all about, well, you got to count your calories, you got to count your macros, you got to cut your this, you got to cut that, it's calories in versus calories out. Like, that's great if we're
protein,
robots.
It's carbs, it's this.
We're not robots.
Trying to do it.
Yeah, we're emotional, behavior-based animals. So we do a lot of things that are illogical. So how do we get around that? And so that's, I think, when we hit a nerve is when we communicate in that way. And that took me, no joke, Mike, it took me probably 10 years as a trainer to figure that out. For 10 years, I would get people in shape, they get out of shape. I'd help them get fit, they drop in, then they drop off. After about 10 years, I started to figure it out. And then I would get people who never worked out, and then they would never stop. It was a completely different approach.
Because you attached something much more than abs to the whole process.
Yeah. We could talk about this too when we get into it, because I think this is good insight because you have a lot of, I'm sure you have, well, I know you have a lot of followers that are really into fitness, and
I'm lucky enough to have both, which is kind of cool, and I get to meet the other side.
Yeah.
The other side is the 350-pound person that goes, I lost 150 because I watched something that you lost your dog, and you talked about.
Yeah. Well, no doubt. But you also have the side that, I mean, you've been doing this for so long, you're an icon, and people who love it and do it and follow you. The biggest question I get from those people is, how do I get my family members on board? How do I get my friend on board? So oftentimes communicating this also helps them, because the big mistake they make is they talk to their aunt like they're talking to themselves. Like, they don't think like you, man. They're not fitness fanatics. You got to talk to them differently about this. Like, you talk to someone like us, like, just do it. Go in there and just do it. We love the pain and go crush or whatever. You tell your aunt to do that, she's like, I don't want to do that. It doesn't make any sense.
I love that you guys have been doing that, and you got some wit to this, and you understand and you bring people on your show that obviously are intelligent. Besides Stan Efford.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's a fan of yours too.
I love that boy.
Yeah.
But it's just a mind game.
100%.
And going back to the previous question I asked you, who's better? The person that knows everything, the doctor that knows how to eat and train and stuff, or the person that just likes going in the gym and knows a little bit? I'll take the guy that knows a little bit, that likes to go train. Because I've been in this since the early 80s, and I've seen these smart guys come in and go, I know this, this, and this. Yeah, but you can't implement any of it.
Yep.
It's great that you know all this, but you can't do anything with it. So what's the point? Compared to the guy that attached, his dad was a bodybuilder, so he wants to follow his dad because he lost his dad young. And so there's something attached to it that's so powerful that keeps him in. But it's the mind.
Absolutely.
It's the mindset.
100%. 100%. And even for people like us, you'll eventually have to tangle with that because we get older. So at some point, you're not going to hit PRs. At some point, you're not going to build more muscle. And if that's all you love, well, then you're screwed. What are you going to do when you're 60, 70, 80? Like, you better learn to fall in love with the journey, because that's what'll keep you going, So it's also a conversation but a lot of times the really smart fitness science, people and whatever, they're just talking to each other. So it's a bit of an echo chamber, and I get that. I enjoy that. I love that. for myself, but that's not going to resonate with the average person and help them.
I love it too. I'm just like you. I love hearing those guys talk about it, and they're so articulate, and it's storytelling time. But I keep coming back to the point where they're saying this, and I'm just like, I wish they would just finish it by going, now that you know this,
Yeah.
if you do 70% of that and just stay consistent, you're gold.
Yeah.
You don't need to know the breakdown of this. You don't need to know.
They confuse the shit out of people sometimes too. It's like there's like like someone will do a post and be like, "Whoa, squats aren't for everybody. Some people have a long femur and they'll break down the joint, the hip joint, this and that." I'm like, man, you are just literally talking somebody out of squatting because it's hard for them, because that's like 1% of everybody. And now you just talk to the kid who just started working out, squat's hard for him. Now he hears that, he's like, cool,
I'm done.
I don't need to squat anymore. I'm like, man, you just confuse the shit out of everybody.
So how do you, on your show, break that down then? How do you guys break that down? Because social media is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It's a blessing because now you get to hear Stan Efferton talk, Ed Cohen talk, Lee Haney talk, Rich Gaspari talk. And so you get to see these guys that were in the trenches, understood it, applied it, and then made themselves so successful.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, you got the football players, you got everybody that does this athletic stuff, and it keeps coming back to two folds. Mentally, what was the greatest thing about Jordan? The greatest thing about Jordan was nobody could expect more from Jordan than he expected from himself.
100%.
And that's what set him apart.
100%.
Same thing with Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wish those guys that are so articulate and know this stuff or say this stuff would just finish it by going, now you don't need to know everything of this.
Yeah.
But if you know a percentage of this and a basics, you and your mother and your grandfather can get to the gym and start training.
Yeah, you know how you know is when you ask somebody, what's the best, you ask, what's the best diet? Or what's the best piece of form of cardio? You know that they know, or that they've worked with a lot of people, because they'll answer and say, well, it depends.
Or whichever you like.
Yeah, well, that's it. Right? So, I mean, I could show you a study that says that, swimming in a cold lake at 4 a.m. is going to burn, have 15% more fat oxidation. Doesn't mean shit, because nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it. So, so it depends is often the answer that you'll get from people who've worked with a lot of people, because we kind of understand that. So, and that's what I try to do. I try to communicate that, strength training is, and this is something I communicate a lot, especially recently. Head to head, it's the best form of exercise for people. It is. Now, I'm not saying it's the only form that everybody should do, but the reality is.
Why is it the best?
Oh, I mean, most people, and again, we could talk about this.
Don't talk about studies. Talk about for you.
Absolutely.
Talk about for you. What is the top 3 things that is beneficial for you in your life with weight training?
Oh yeah. Well, okay. For me, I liked it for my own reasons. I like the transformative aspect. I like being strong. I like the struggle. Under the weights. I love the skill acquisition. A lot of people don't realize that strength training is a lot of skill. It's like learning a sport. You have to practice exercises often. So that's for me. Now, for the average person, most people aren't going to work out more than 2 days a week if we do a good job. If we do a good job, we can take the average person, give them from 0 to 2 days a week if you average it out over the rest of their life.
Crushes my heart.
Right? If we're lucky.
Crushes my heart to hear.
But that's the truth. Now, if they're only going to do 2 hours a week, 2 1-hour workouts, we got to pick the form of exercise that's going to have the biggest impact. And strength training kills them. Why? Because it positive effect on metabolism. Other forms of exercise don't. Positive effect on hormones. Very protective. Insulin sensitizing effects like nothing else because of the muscle. So it's got cognitive boosting effects. Proprioceptive ability. You got to move in different planes. You're not doing the same thing over and over again. You're challenging your brain, and so it's got to stay healthy and know how to move it. It works on mobility. It gives you more functional flexibility than other forms of exercise. A lot of people think, strength training makes you not flexible. That's not true. Functional flexibility is what you want. You don't want to be like Gumby. You want to have the kind of flexibility where you actually you have strength in it. Well, that's strength training, full range of motion strength training. So know the form of exercise.
Should we tell them that you've never talked to me before this about my principles? Because that just sounds like he's repeating.
Well,
that's your take on
it.
This is not something we talked about prior to this.
No, you know what? You know why? There's what's that saying? There's many roads up to the the destination, right? So you and I have different paths, but both of us have done this long enough that we eventually, there's going to be an objective truth, and that's just the objective truth. Now, in an ideal world, I would have someone do the foundation of their routine would be some strength training. They'd have some form of cardiovascular in there, some form of maybe mobility or flexibility, maybe a spiritual practice, either meditation, prayer, whatever. But that's asking a lot of the average person. So I just say, hey, look, if you're gonna do one thing, practice, and I say use the word practice on purpose, practice strength training a couple days a week. Go to the gym, practice these lifts. And I say practice because it usually gives people puts them in the right position with the right intensity.
Because you're not telling them, hey, go be perfect.
And I'm also not saying, go hammer your legs.
Right.
I'm saying go practice squatting. I'm not saying go hammer your shoulders, when practice overhead pressing. And what that tends to lead to over time is less injury, better form, better technique, better results. And people view it as a skill rather than I'm here to hurt myself.
And it's a change of words, which is smart on you guys' part.
Absolutely.
It just makes them think differently.
Absolutely.
Instead of, again, by working with I hate saying the average Joes, but those guys that are coming in, that's the attorney all week, doesn't have time to get a workout.
Yeah.
So he's just got two workouts a week. That's a great way to give it to him because he'll comprehend that.
Totally.
Just practice it.
Totally.
What is then, what's the start mentally and the approach for the January 1st people?
Yeah, well, so the problem is how they start. And what I mean by that is
that they go in the gym, they start running on the treadmill after not taking a year off.
Yeah, well,
after taking.
Even before that, right? Think of God. Years ago, I was at this dinner at a tech company, so I'm just around a bunch of tech people, and as soon as I tell people what I do for a living, right, automatically everybody becomes self-aware and self-conscious. Oh, no, I'm only having one piece of bread, or so the jokes start, right? And this one lady, after a few drinks, she goes, I had a friend who worked out every day, ate right, and then she got cancer and she died when she was 50. So I just decided I'm just going to enjoy my life. And I remember I sat there. So what a weird, a lot of people say that. Like, why'd you stop your diet? Why'd you stop working out? I just want to enjoy my life. I thought, enjoy my life? Like, there's almost nothing you can do that'll improve the quality of your life like being fit and healthy. I don't care what the context of your life is. If you're fit and healthy, it's better. So I said, why do people say they're going to enjoy their life by stopping? And then it occurred to me, people start working out because they hate themselves. They're going to the gym because they say, I hate myself, I'm gross, I'm fat, I'm whatever. And that's a negative motivation. Very powerful in the short term, terrible in the long term. At some point, you can't hate yourself anymore. And what do? You rebel. So that's why people don't just stop a diet. They go way the hell off. I ate a whole box of cookies and I was sick to my stomach. How the hell did that happen? It's because you were tired of hating yourself and oppressing yourself and being tyrannical over yourself. So the start is really about not that I hate myself, but rather, I deserve to be cared for. I love myself through action. I need to take care of myself. So let me go to the gym and take care of myself. You imagine how many more appropriately done workouts and how much more balanced somebody's diet would be? What I mean by balance is that they don't feel like they're super restrictive and the opposite direction. If they were doing it from a place of like self-care, right? It's the difference between, hey, you want this cookie? I can't. Or, no thanks, I don't want it. So that's the big key is how people start. And the fitness space, because it's driven by sales and marketing, it's a very effective way to sell a product fast, is to hit somebody's pain point in their insecurities. It's much harder to sell them through what I just said. So the fitness space kind of fuels it, right?
Yeah.
So it's this like cycle that we're stuck in, and it's no wonder that 85-90% of people lose weight and gain it back. We don't have a weight loss problem. We have a keep weight off problem. Everybody loses weight. Nobody can keep it off. So it's how we're going into it. That's the problem. This is what we talk about on the show all the time. Is that right there?
So it is enjoy the journey, not the destination.
100%.
And that has to be
100%.
And so if we were talking to the people at home, what are some techniques that you guys have, by talking to others that you brought on your show, what if they said, or what is a continuous pattern with most people that they attach their health and fitness to something?
Yeah.
Is it I want to live a full life?
It's almost always, I don't like the way I look. I'm not attractive. I'm too skinny. I'm too fat. I saw a picture of myself, didn't like what I saw. That's almost always how people. I started that way. I started because I was a skinny kid, so I was insecure, and I started working out. And I eventually had to face that and change my approach because it would have, it wouldn't have worked out very well for me.
Right.
So it's almost always from this insecure, negative place, and then through that is this motivational state of mind. That's it. I'm going to change it. I hate myself. I'm going to change it, and then that motivational state of mind can't stay with you forever. When it goes away, what are you left with? You can't do it anymore. You've not built any skills of discipline, which is a skill that you can build over time, and you're hating yourself. So what is exercise? Punishment. And exercise is punishment when you hate yourself. How many times do you see that in the gym, right? Oh, I ate like shit yesterday, so I'm gonna go sweat it off, beat myself up.
Such a comment. You're hitting the nerve of what so few talk about. You really are, because again, I've been in it for 4 decades. Wow, since the 80s. It's going to 5 decades, I guess.
Wow.
But it's the continuous pattern that I see, that the person comes in, chases the trophy because they start getting in shape, they chase a trophy, they win the trophy, 3 months later they look like shit.
Yeah.
And then they never lift again.
Yeah.
Or they come into powerlift and they get one injury and they never come back from that one injury. It wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
And then they just get out of shape. And so you're hitting the nerve of what their mind process is and how they look at it. It's like the guy that hurts himself. Say, okay, maybe I can't powerlift again to that level, but at least I can get healthy again.
Yeah.
And do something else and still go out and play basketball with my son on the weekends.
You know what? I tell you what. You know this, right? If you talk to anybody who's been consistent for more than 10 years with eating right and exercise. So I say 10 years because it takes about that long to really develop the relationship with exercise where you're probably going to do it for the rest of your life. Some people can do it for 5 years because they have a goal of a trophy or whatever, but 10 years is usually around 10 years, right? You ask them, list the top 3 reasons why you still do this. And I bet you number 1 isn't because I look good, I've got great muscles, and I can lift a lot of weight. I bet you the first number 1 thing is the mental, psychological, emotional benefit. I bet you enjoy working out more for that than the fact that you look the way you do and whatever. That's a great side effect. But I bet you love going because it's a spiritual practice almost. People say the gym is church or the squat rack is the altar.
I say that a lot, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, wait a minute, you don't have a voice in the head. Everybody has a voice in the head. There's always that voice in your head saying, "Hey, sleep into this morning," or "Hey, get up and get to the gym," or "Hey, it's my party, I need to get in shape." Whatever that voice in the head, my head, and that voice is every morning. I get to go train again.
Yeah.
And then it's the fight with me and that voice in the gym. And you're 100% right. That's what's kept me going through this whole career. It wasn't the trophy byproduct. It wasn't the body again. It was just, I want to talk to that guy. The voice in the head during that workout saying, I don't know if you're going to get this. I don't know if you're going to do that. Maybe you should wrap it up. That voice turns me on.
Yeah.
And I feel truly alive at that moment.
Absolutely, and it's what's going to keep you doing this for the rest of your life. Whether you're sick, injured, as you age, it's what's going to keep you doing it, because what you've realized, and this is the point that I try to get people to, and it takes a little while, it's a process, but what you've realized is that exercise and diet, are both multifaceted tools that'll improve your life regardless of the context of your life. So it doesn't matter what's happening in your life. Now, what does that mean? That means my workouts change depending on what's going on. I got a lot of stress right now, or I got a new baby coming in about 3 weeks, right? This will be number 4 for me. Now I know for the net, you got kids. I know for the first 6 months or so, I ain't gonna be killing it in the gym. I'm gonna be losing sleep or whatever. So my workouts are going to change, but what are they going to be around? Improving the quality of my life in that moment, right? So no matter what's happening, and I've been through divorce, I've been through illness, I've had friends die, changes in business, challenges. The exercise and nutrition improves the quality of my life, and I can modify it and mold it around what's happening versus I got to always hit PRs. This is when people screw themselves up. Well, now I can't work out at my super intensity, so I'm just not going to do it. Or they burn themselves out or they hurt themselves. So that's the approach, the lifelong approach. That's what we talk about is the relationship with exercise and nutrition that lasts forever. And you know when I used to get a lot of this insight?
But before you keep going, 'cause
Yeah.
you're talking gold to me. Because there's very few people in the world I get to talk to that understand it to that level. And they say, the longer you're in something or understand something, there's less people you can talk to. And so it's like Stan's and Ed and those guys. It's great to hear you say this, because I think if anybody hears this, they're going, oh, I'm the other way. I'm saying I have to go train because I made a promise to myself I'll train 3 days a week. No, you get to go train.
Mm-hmm.
You're just changing. It's not that you're just changing. I think it's a huge thing. You're the person that's saying, stop saying, I'll give an example. When I was growing up, they thought I was this genius and all this, and they started skipping my grades. And I was a big kid, and I started skipping grades. And then they come back to my dad, who was a teacher, and both very educated. My mom was a writer. They come back, no, we're wrong. He's an idiot. So they stuck me in special ed. And so I continuously said, okay, so I had dyslexia and all this. And so I started pounding myself down on that aspect. And so I started fighting and doing the lifting on the other side. But it's the continuous pounding down about the reading and stuff that set me up to fail. And it was like, people are doing that with health and fitness.
Totally.
And the only reason I went to health and fitness is because I had to fight and all this stuff. And then I realized I'm doing this to myself. I don't have to do either of these things. And I said, but I love this, so let's keep doing this and change this approach. And people are looking at it the same way. And you're so clear about this, which I love, is you're saying, no, you don't have to train 3 days a week. No, you don't have to diet. You get to, and you get to train 3 days a week. And both of those, side note, is going to help you in life, whatever stress, whatever job, whatever divorce, a person passing away. We've all had heartbreaks and stuff, and it helps you through that.
That's what life is. Look, there's so 2 points with this that I want to make. One is, first of all, life is hard for everybody. Okay, so I know people like to look at some people and say, oh, this person's good looking, this person's got money, this person's got whatever. Look at the suicide rate among celebrities. They'll tell you right there that it's not what it all seems. Life is challenging for everybody. That's number one. What version of you is most likely to come out of challenges well? The strong, healthy, fit version of you, or the weak, unhealthy version of you? So that's number one. Here's number two, and this is my favorite part of this, which is, this is why I really fell in love with fitness. It is one of the most powerful, yet one of the most unassuming vehicles for personal growth. It's powerful because if you do it long enough, you learn incredible lessons. You learn acceptance. I remember I learned acceptance at the age of 16 when I realized I was never going to look like Arnold. Like when I'm working out, skinny kid, right? And then and then you start learning about genetics and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm never going to look like Arnold, but I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to keep doing this anyway. And I learned it young. Some people take a lot longer, but you learn acceptance.
Some people never learn it.
That's true. What's another lesson? Pain and struggle and challenge. I'm going to suck at stuff before I get good at stuff. Nobody's great at strength training when they first start in comparison to how they can become later on. Number three, you learn about pain, how to develop a different relationship with pain, should I say. For example, when you work out, Mike, you feel the same pain. You probably feel more pain than a beginner working out. Yet the beginner almost can't handle the pain. I've actually had clients, first-time clients, drop dumbbells because my arm.
It hurts.
Yeah. Now, it's not because they're feeling anything different than me. I just have a different relationship with pain. How valuable is developing that relationship with pain for the rest of your life? One of my favorite things was training female clients, them getting stronger, and then them telling me how much more confident it made them feel to be able to go through the struggle of lifting a heavy weight just in everyday life. And I remember hearing that the first time and going, that doesn't make sense. And I thought about it and said, well, actually it makes a lot of sense. So you learn that. You learn how to grow as you get older, as the process changes. Now, it's also an assuming, because nobody goes into fitness thinking they're going to do personal growth. Nobody goes into it saying, I want to just grow as a person, right? It's not like a motivational course or like a religion, right? So I want to look good. And they don't realize if they stick to it long enough, this is a vehicle for personal growth. There's a reason why successful people work out at a higher rate or more consistently than unsuccessful people. There's a reason why people who do this for a long time can attribute so much of their life success to the lessons that they learned in the gym. It's a personal growth vehicle. And if you pursue it long enough, at first you start off and you say, this might, like my story, right? I just want to build more muscle. And then it's like, you know what? I want to get healthier. Like this pushing this is not working for me. I think I need to get healthier. So let me learn about wellness. And then it was like, well, I guess it's not just about macros, it's about food quality. And then it's like, I got to change my relationship to food. And then it's like, sleep is important. And that's like, sunlight's important. And then, a spiritual practice, that's for health too? Okay, I guess I got to look at that as well. So you stay on this long enough and it's this wonderful vehicle for personal growth. So to the outside person who hears what we may say about this, to them, they may be like, this sounds silly, this doesn't make sense, like, why do you sound so philosophical, whatever.
And they might do that, but I'm telling you, I got tingles.
Yeah.
So I'm loving this.
Yeah, so, but the truth is that's what it's all about. And anybody who's done it long enough will tell you that. And it's not about the muscles, it's not about the six pack, it's not about, how hot you look or how much you can lift. Although that's what we see on social media and that's what, we could show off to each other about, or, if we go work out, we can have a good time competing or whatever. The reality is it's about the other stuff. And those are just the side effects that follow along.
Isn't there so many side effects to, and we're going to go back to when you were at, I think it was a wedding. Was that where you were, a wedding or something?
No, it was a business dinner.
Business dinner. And the lady says, well, my friend died young, which again, tomorrow's promised to no one. So that's just the weirdest comment ever.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're guaranteed to live past that? All right.
Sure.
That doesn't make sense. But the point is, I'm going to enjoy my life. So eating bad is your interpretation of enjoying life. You sitting on the couch flipping the channels instead of going to the gym with your girlfriend and getting a sweat in and then releasing endorphins and having fun and joking around doing something active. That's not enjoying your life. But sitting on the couch on Instagram is enjoying your life. That's an odd thing to me. So how do you change? Because society's grown up in such a different way now.
Totally.
How do you change? What's the first steps, I guess you would say? What are the 3 key steps that made you, and maybe it is, because I do know about you, and I don't want to say it. So what are the steps that someone needs to do before it's too late, or should think or try to do mindset-wise, 1, 2, and 3, to start going, okay, I love food.
Yeah.
But how can they change the relationship? How can they start to work out? And how vocabulary plays a part?
Yeah, great question. Before I get to that, and I will break that down. We have confused hedonism with
which means what?
Just pleasure, right?
Oh, okay.
With life quality. Okay, life quality. So, and I'll get to what you said, but I want to make this point. They keep talking about how scientists at some point are going to be able to discover and develop exercise in a pill. Right? You take a pill, boom, fit, eat what I want, I look good, I'm healthy. Now you know as well as I do that that's going to deliver a fraction of the benefits of exercise and nutrition. Because a fraction of the benefit is, I'm leaner, I'm more fit, I'm stronger. But the other the benefits are really in the journey along the way.
How you got there?
100%. Yeah, like I could take a helicopter to the top of Mount Everest, but it's not going to be the same experience as if I climbed Mount Everest. All right, so let's get to the 3 things. Well, one is you have to understand what self-love is. People confuse love in general with a feeling. So, love is this wonderful feeling I get for somebody. No, it's not. Love is an action. If you've been married for a long time or you have kids, you know that you don't always have that feeling for that person. Sometimes you didn't have it for your kids. They get on your nerve. If you have teenage kids, I have a couple teenagers. Sometimes I don't like them, but I love them. It's an action. So self-love is action, not feeling. You don't want to confuse the two. So, okay, what does that look like in practice? Well, first off, real love is honesty. So it's looking in the mirror and saying, it's not this body acceptance distortion that we're hearing right now in media. That's not self-love. That's the opposite of self-love. What that's done is that they're taking one extreme, which was you have to starve yourself or look like you're on heroin or cocaine, to no, obesity. No. Both of those are not self-love. Both of them are dysfunctional. Self-love is honest. Self-love is looking in the mirror and going, okay, I haven't been kind to myself. I haven't taken care of myself, and I deserve to be taken care of. I'm going to treat myself like somebody I care about. I'm going to love myself. Action. I'm going to take action to love myself. Even though right now I don't feel like I love myself, because what I want to do is bury my emotions and feelings and anxieties through food and activity. I'm gonna take the action. I'm gonna love myself. So that's number one. Number two, okay, I haven't done this before, so I have to develop the skills to be able to do this so that I can do this forever. It's a skill, and like any skill, I got to start at one place and I'm going to slowly develop this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about a first step. What's one step I can take that is both challenging, because otherwise it has no meaning. If there's no challenge, it doesn't mean anything to me. So what is a step I can take that's both challenging yet realistic forever? And that's the context you have to use, forever. Because we don't want to think what's realistic in this motivated state of mind. Because I may be motivated right now. We all know the goals you make when you're motivated are the ones you can't keep later on. So what's challenging yet realistic forever? There is no wrong answer. It could be anything. It could be literally, I'm going to drink an extra glass of water a day. Or I'm going to walk 5 minutes after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or I'm going to do 5 push-ups every morning. I don't care what it is. Take that first step. And then do that until it's something you value and it feels like it's a part of your life. And then ask yourself the same question again. What's the next step I can take that's both challenging yet realistic forever? Now, what you end up finding is each step tends to get bigger as you build confidence. You start to develop the skill of discipline. And the space between the steps starts to get shorter. So like, I'll tell you a story. So I had a client once who hired me. I used to train a lot of doctors and surgeons. I used to own this wellness studio, and we were next to a hospital. At one point, I started training all these surgeons and doctors. Then they started referring patients. And one of my clients, she was a wonderful lady, surgeon. She said, I have this patient, who I've been trying to talk her into seeing you. She really hates working out, doesn't like gyms. I convinced her, so she's gonna come see you. And I said, okay, perfect. So in walks in this woman, and the first words out of her mouth are, I'm not working out on my own. I'm only gonna work out with you once a week, and I'm not touching my diet. Now, the young version of me, who didn't understand all this, would have been like, waste of time. You got to do this, you got to do that, whatever. If you're not serious, then don't come in. But the wiser version of me was like, okay, let's start with that. Knowing that if I did a good job, she would eventually come to me and ask for more. That's exactly what happened. So a year later, literally a year of working out once a week. Now, once a week for her was more than what she was doing before. So what did she get from it? Stronger, she could move better. She'd come in, we'd have these great conversations that didn't revolve around fitness. She was a professor. And so we had these really invigorating conversations. She started loving to come to the gym. So she started to develop this great relationship with working out. About a year later, she's like, hey, Sal, do you have another opening in your schedule? I'd like to come twice a week. Absolutely. Let's do that. 6 months later, is there like 3 or 4 easy exercises I could do on my own at home? Absolutely. A couple months after that, I think I'm going to reduce my sugar intake. Well, anyway, after 3 years of this process, like I said, the spaces between those got shorter and the steps got bigger. To this day, she works out consistently. She's working out 3 days a week. She's not by any means a fitness fanatic, but she's doing it. And she's doing it. She hasn't stopped. This is 10 years later. So that's the process that you go through. And through that process, you develop this skill of discipline where, I don't miss a workout necessarily. I don't miss a workout. Now, I don't always go in and train my ass off. Sometimes I wake up and I go, ooh, I'm not feeling good. I think I'm gonna go easy. I'm gonna focus on maybe some stretching and some full range of motion movement. Maybe I'll do the steam room or the sauna. Sometimes I wake up and I'm on fire. I'm gonna go hit it hard, see what I can pull off the ground or whatever. And so that's what ends up happening as you develop the skill of discipline. This happens with nutrition as well. With nutrition, this is a big myth. There's a big myth out there where people think, oh, I'll never, how could you eat that? How could you eat the broccoli, or how can you eat those vegetables, or how can you eat chicken or fish that way? It's gross. Yeah, I'm not an idiot. Like, I know pizza tastes better than a bowl of broccoli and chicken. I know that. But I actually enjoy eating the chicken and broccoli more most of the time. Sometimes I enjoy the pizza. But most of the time I enjoy the chicken and broccoli. Why? Because I've learned to understand all of the values that those foods provide to me. I've developed a relationship with those foods where I actually crave them. And by the way, this is not unknown to the food industry. They do this to us all the time. They do this all the time by showing you the beer commercials with the hot girls and you're at the beach and whatever, or they're never going to show you food in an environment, like they're never going to show you. Like,
so there's no broccoli commercial with hot chicks on there. Hey, you eat broccoli, you're golden.
Yeah. Well, so my point with this is something you can develop over time to the point where, and this is the kicker, this is where you want to be. You enjoy caring for yourself like somebody you care about. Once you're there, balance is natural. Now, what happens, Mike, is usually I don't eat pizza. But if I meet up with my friends, haven't seen them in a long time, we're going to connect, have a good time, maybe I will have some pizza and a beer. And at that moment, the part of myself, the health that I'm nourishing, is the connection with my buddies.
So the self-love by action,
Yes.
not just the love for it, fully agree. Again, yeah, that's great. And then if the people at home don't understand this, does the pizza taste better? It tastes better, but I think for you and me mentally, it's the delayed gratification of what the chicken and broccoli and steak will do for us later on is more beneficial to us emotionally as we are continuing to grow compared to the pizza at the one moment. And again,
Yes.
have the pizza with your friends, all that stuff. But we're talking about that one moment, and you build those moments up over and over again, and that's what you're talking about. You're building yourself
Yes.
up to be
Well,
a better person.
Well, we have,
for you.
Yes, and culturally, we're lucky in many senses that we live in societies with markets that meet every desire and demand that we want. So what market, like you go to the grocery store, 80% of what's in there is ultra processed, convenient food, specifically designed. A lot of money goes into this. If you've ever looked into it, it's pretty remarkable. Designed to hit those hedonistic pleasure points. In fact, these foods are so well designed, they make us overeat. They've done phenomenal studies showing the average person will eat, with the same macro count and everything, about 600 more calories a day by eating these kinds of foods. By the way, that's the root of the obesity issue in modern societies. And so what it's done is it's conditioned us to value food for one thing, hedonistic value. We don't, people are not aware. In fact, I would get clients, Mike, that would be like, oh yeah, I get heartburn every day, but I take this medication. Not realizing
What they just said.
what they eat gives them the heartburn. And you know what happens when I point it out and they start making that connection? They stop wanting the thing that gives them the heartburn. But they weren't even aware that that's something that they could do. Really, it was just about, you ask people, the average person, hey, what are we gonna have for lunch? It's all about I don't know, Mexican sounds good. Oh, what about Chinese? Oh, what about, because the relationship you have with exercise is entirely revolved around that hedonistic pleasure, which is a value. I don't want to, I don't want people to get this wrong. That is one of the values, but there's a sphere of value. There's like digestive health. There's mental health. Like for example, knowing I'm going to be on this with you and do some podcasts, I changed my diet to improve my mental acuity, right? To make me feel sharper. I know how to change my diet to improve my strength or my performance. I know what I need to do when my digestion is off. I know what I need to do when my sleep is off a little bit. And then of course the hedonistic fun stuff, that's real easy. So when people can get to that point and understand that, and then through that process of, becoming aware, and then it becoming an unconscious awareness, right? It's like breathing and walking, where, when I travel, when I get home, I crave like well-cooked vegetables and homemade proteins, because when I'm out traveling, I'm usually eating out, and those are the things I'm missing. And I literally crave those things, So I think if people understand that, they can start to learn how to develop that. And then, everybody talks about balance. Well, balance with your diet, balance with your exercise. It doesn't happen unless you fully understand all these values and you work on developing this relationship with these things. If all you understand is the pleasure of the food, then that's the relationship you're going to have. You're not going to understand anything else. By the way, this is true for everything. Look, people who've been married for 40 years, okay, who have a good relationship, have more satisfying sex lives than people in their 20s going on Tinder, swiping right or whatever all the time. Now, does that mean they're having more wild, crazy? No, but they have a more connected, developed relationship with sex, right? Same thing can happen with food, same thing can happen with exercise. We're just conditioned to look at food, and that's the value, and everything else I'm not even aware of. I don't even know that this is why I get so tired in the middle of the day. I'm not even aware that this is why I have digestive issues or why my skin doesn't look good or why I feel like crap. It's just, I like the way it tastes.
So was I right? I was right. You don't even need to say nothing. Great guy, a great father. I follow a lot of aspects he talks about on his show, and that's what led me to him at the very start of this relationship, I guess you would say, is that he said some stuff that really struck home with me, and I said, this guy's, he's got it. Something there I connect to. And his and his boys' podcast, Mind Pump, go follow it. This is the Michael Hearn Show on Generation Iron. I'll see you guys next week.